Hello, my name is Jody Lafever. I'm a technical specialist with Microsoft for education in the Midwest. And today we're going to show you how to leverage the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways framework to create a custom SharePoint site that we're going to then wrap in a custom app in Teams and show you how to pin it to the side. So it's literally kind of like a one-stop shop for all your communication. In the old days, we had internet pages or home pages. Now, especially with COVID, we need everything available in one spot. We don't have time to go hunt for it everywhere. So, in addition to the actual SharePoint site that we're doing, I will show you how to add a little automation. So, what you're looking at here is the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways framework, but I've customized each area a little bit to what I want it to look like for my home page. So here we have a virtual countdown, and the cool thing about this tile is you can put a hyperlink on it to something. So I just put it to the actual live Teams event. We have so many people wanting to do live graduations right now. I've added some tiles to just actual websites. We have a training events calendar, an option to register for live events. This is that part of the automation I was talking about. And down here, this is Meet the Office 365 suite. This is completely customizable. You can see I didn't put Microsoft Access in here because I don't think a lot of us are teaching that anymore. So you can pick and choose what you want in here. And the beauty about this content is we're keeping it updated for you. This isn't anything that you have to do. So if you need to get some training up and going very quickly, here it is. The first thing we're going to do is look at the Provision Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways how-to documentation at docs.microsoft.com. And the big thing I want to focus on is the prerequisites here. Now, if you already have a SharePoint Online site available, you probably already have a tenant app catalog set up, and you can probably skip this step. But if you are brand new to SharePoint Online or you're not sure, please go through and follow these steps to create another app catalog. So I'm going to click on this SharePoint Online documentation. That brings up another good point. I want to remind you that you can, if you already have a lot of SharePoint content, you can leverage that existing content in this internet or home page that we're building. So step one, create the app catalog collection site. So if you have an office in Germany or China, you're going to follow these instructions. If you're with me in the US, you're going to follow these other instructions. And when it says under Apps, select Open. We're going to go over to the SharePoint Admin Center. From the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, which is just admin.microsoft.com, you can click on SharePoint under Admin Centers. When it first opens, it's going to look like this. You need to go to More Features, and then you can see Apps. So now we can click Open Apps. And then the next step says Select App Catalog. And then we're going to create a new app catalog site and select OK. This whole process involves a little bit of waiting, so I recommend trying to pace this out over a day or two. Now, the title is something that's up to you. I like to give it something that I can actually remember what is associated with what. So I'm going to do like M365 Learning Pathways App Catalog. You do have to specify an actual website address. So I'm just going to do something like M365 believe OCL was an example, but it really doesn't matter as long as you specify something in here that is pertinent to what you're doing. You want to pick your correct time zone. I'm coming to you from Great Michigan, which is under a lot of water right now. And then you have to select the administrator. Okay. So after you click OK, it takes just a minute to get the process going. So for what we're doing today, we only need to do step 1. You don't need to go to step 2 of adding custom apps. The actual framework that we're going to provision will create all those nice apps for you. So it kind of gives you a false sense that like it's done. But if you can see right here, the little green dot swirling, it's actually doing something. And I don't know if it's buried in the documentation, but somewhere I saw that this can take up to a couple hours. And true enough, the first time I did this, it took about 1 3/4 hours. So this is a good point to walk away, get some coffee, or at least continue reading on what you need to do next. So I'm going to go back here to show you the next steps to get ready for, to provision the learning pathways. So we are going to click on this link. And there's this nice Add to Your Tenant button. It's a little tricky when you're doing this to try to remember where you're at and what part to come back to. But at least when you get to this page, down here there are these prerequisites. So if somehow you got here and you forgot what you're doing, documentation links are right here. Down at the bottom, we have our system requirements, SharePoint Online. You need to have a tenant admin. The tenant app catalog has to exist, and you have to have an administrator on this. So when you click Add to Your Tenants, it's going to ask for some permissions just this first time. You have to consent and accept. Okay. And hey, we made a great choice, but we just need a bit of information before we start provisioning. So the email address in here, this is my demo tenant. So I am going to go ahead and put in my Microsoft address, the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways site URL. I personally like to leave defaults, especially when you're talking following documentation, but feel free to change this if you have a naming convention. I'm going to show you what it looks like if you're a little too antsy, not like most of us that want things to just happen magically. So I'm going to click the provision button. It's validating those prerequisites, and there is no way to cheat the system. So it says provisioning could not be completed. This template requires a fully provisioned app catalog. This is where it said, the app catalog in your tenant has been created within the last 2 hours. Please wait for at least 2 hours. So there you have it. You have to actually wait. So, but going back here, this is what goofed me up the first time. As you see, it says new. I thought, oh, hey, new means done. And I kept trying to provision. New means new. It doesn't mean done. So while we're waiting, we can go back to that SharePoint Admin Center, the more features, and then open the apps. So the same exact steps we did before. And then we're going to go under App Catalog. And you can see we actually have the M365 Learning Pathways App Catalog there. We're trying to validate. It's been a little over 2 hours, and hey, we have success. What will be provisioned? The template contains the following elements. It's got the Learning Pathways solution, which will be installed in your tenant app catalog, and the communication site. So it is provisioning apps and your SharePoint site for you. Isn't that wonderful? I thought it was pretty exciting. So we're going to click confirm, and it says provisioning is started. You will get an email when it's done. You can see down here, you got the little green dots swirling around. Provisioning is in progress. So this is yet another good time to walk away for a while, wait for that email. So after provisioning completes successfully, you should have an email. Just be aware mine came in my junk mail. So you have an open site button. I am going to actually copy the hyperlink over because I'm using a separate tenant and doing in private. So let's go open a new tab. I'll paste the link in there. And voila, we have our SharePoint site. So let's now go back to our instructions. So when provisioning is complete, you should have got an email. So now we need to open the Custom Learning Admin ASPX to initialize the custom config. You should see a page that looks like this. So the easiest way to find this and open it, so if we go back to our site content where I got the home page, we see we have this custom learning admin.aspx. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to copy that link just in case I need it. Now I'm going to click on that. And it opened. So if we look back at our instructions, it says it should look like this. I would say it looks like that. Down here where it says add owners to the site, I don't need to do this because this is just my demo tenant, but you should all do this in your real world to make sure there's more than one owners for that site. So now we can go and add the custom app in Teams. So we are going to be working in the Teams console, not the admin console, just the normal Teams console. We need to go out and get an app that will allow us to create a custom app. So go to the ... and we're going to go to more apps. And then we're going to search for App Studio. We're going to add. And then we can start creating our custom app. And we're going to go to Manifest Editor. Now we're going to create a new app. I'm going to name this 365 Learning. We'll go with capital M now, no lowercase. 365 Learning Portal. We generate an app ID and give it a package name. We'll call it M365 Learning version 1.0.0. The version number is important when you're updating the app itself. If you want to come in here and add additional tabs or rename things, in order to upload it into your tenant, you have to iterate the version number. Otherwise, it'll give you an error and say it already exists. We will say this is the central learning hub, learning portal for M365. They just have to be different. Developer information you have to fill out. I'm going to just say Jody. And our website is our SharePoint site, or if you have a different website, it just has to be from your domain. So as far as the website, I am going to go over to my SharePoint site and just grab that URL. We don't need to worry about specifying the partner information. The app URLs, you can just use your existing SharePoint site. And branding, you can add in We'll do one full color icon here. I'm going to use Cleveland because it's all because of them that I learned how to do all this. So high five, Cleveland Metropolitan School District. I don't have a transparent outline icon handy, so I'm not going to change that, but I will update the accent color. I'm feeling kind of green today. And then we'll add in a loading indicator. So now we can go down to tabs, and we're going to add a personal tab. If you do a team tab, it will only be able to be inserted inside of a team, whereas a personal tab app you can make available for the whole tenant. So we're going to click add, and I'm going to call this M365 portal. The entity ID, this is just a generic random I guess a better word for it is unique entity ID. So you can just put any numbers in there. And the content URL is, again, our SharePoint site. We're going to click Save. You can add in bots, connectors, languages, and we're going to just go down to domains and permissions. Notice it already pulled the domain from my tab. We're going to go down, and under this AAD app ID, this is going to allow for single sign-on to SharePoint. So this ID is this. You can click on the screen right now to get to the documentation. And then under single sign-on, you can again specify the URL for your SharePoint site. And then we're going to go down to test and distribute. And we're going to click install. And if everything worked correctly, you're going to click add. And then you should see on the left our M365 Learning app. So there we have it. We now have our SharePoint Learning Pathways site wrapped in a Teams app. As you can see, while we were away a few minutes ago, I added a tab for bookings. We scroll down, we can see this nice countdown here. And we have all this wonderful learning content. So if somebody wanted to get started with Microsoft Teams, it launches right inside Teams. So this is a one-stop shop for all your normal communication and functionality with Teams, but now you kind of have your own learning portal or intranet page right within Teams, so people don't have to leave this platform in order to find everything that they need. So once you get the portal configured the way you want it and everything's really up to snuff, we are going to go back into our App Studio and go to the Manifest Editor and edit your app. Down under Test and Distribute, we can then download that app. And then we are going to go to our apps. And down at the very bottom here, we have Upload a Custom App. You can upload it for just me or my teams, or upload for your whole domain. Okay, and we will open that. When it's done, you will have your app available in your All Apps. So now if we wanted to pin that and make it available for everybody in your domain, we need to go to the Teams Admin Center. We will go down to Teams Apps and Manage Apps. So we can search in here. Let's look for M365 Learning. It is there. It's allowed. Okay, so that's good to go. So now we're going to go to Set Up Policies. And I'm going to go ahead and put this under my org-wide because I want this to be available for everybody. I'm going to click Add Apps. And let's look for M365. We will add our M365 Learning. Click Add. And now it is going to be pinned to the side. If we want to make sure this is at the top for everybody, we are going to select it and move it on up. I'm going to go ahead and move Teams on up under that. And then I do need to scroll down, make sure to hit the Save button. All right, so that's how you create the app and add it to a policy to get it pinned to the side. So next we're going to talk about automation. We're going to create some very simple automation just to walk you through the steps on how to do it. So I am in the regular SharePoint site. The easiest way to get to that is just go to office.com and click on SharePoint. I'm going to go down to the M365 Learning Pathways site. And we're going to go to Site Contents. And I'm sure there's SharePoint gurus out there that know easier ways to do this, but this is how I figured it out, and it works for me, so it might work for you too. So we are going to go ahead and create a new list. I will call this Event List. I'm going to click Create. And yes, we know there's a new experience. So we first have a title, and I'm going to add a column that is we'll just go yes or no. And I will call this, Can you attend? We'll leave it as yes, no. Click Save. And then I'll go ahead and add in a single line of text. Just put in a note and save. So once we have the list in SharePoint, we are going to create a Microsoft form based on this. We're going to create a new form. I'm just going to call this Event Yes, No. We're going to add a new question. And this first one will be, we will do a choice. And I'm going to put title of event. Option 1 will go K-12. Option 2, university. We're going to add a new one, and this is going to be a choice. And we can go, can you attend? We will add yes, no. And then I will add a new one, just text, for the notes. And you see in the form, we have the ability on each question to make it required. So on this one, it's going to be required. I'm not going to make the notes required. And then let's go ahead and throw on a theme. That one looks kind of cool. And then let's preview. So this is what it looks like. We have our title, we have Can You Attend, and we have notes. So now that we have a form, we are going to create some automation. So let's go back to our Office Hub. And if you go to All Apps, we are going to go to Power Automate. And we are just going to search for, we're going to do form to SharePoint. Don't judge my typing. I broke some fingers a few years ago jogging, and they're not quite straight, and that's my excuse, and I'm going to stick to it. We're going to pick this first one, form processing to email in SharePoint. We have my connectors here already to forms, mail, and SharePoint. So when I click continue, this will then bring up the template. And the trigger is when a new response is submitted by a form. Because I'm doing all this in the same tenant, when I click this drop down, it found my event yes no form. And then it's going to gather the list of responses. On the form ID, we're going to pick the same form. And under send email, we can click in here and you can either pick the responder's email. So if somebody's signed in your domain, it will automatically pull their email in. If this is going to be a form for external users, make sure to put a actual email attribute in the form so they can put in their email to make sure they get the response. Under the subject line, I'm going to put thank you for filling out the form. And we could add in some dynamic content. So if you had like first name, last name in there, you could go ahead and put that in there. In the email body, I'm going to again say thank you, exclamation point. We will put their submission time, title of event, and then I'll go ahead and throw in remark, and we'll put in the can you attend option. The site address, it's automatically going to load your SharePoint site. So we're going to go ahead and pick the M365 Learning Pathways site. And then under SharePoint list name, now see we have the event list that I created earlier. So what this is going to do when the form is submitted, it's going to get that information. It's going to send a confirmation email to the person that filled it out, and then it's going to create an item in SharePoint. The nice thing about this is with a SharePoint list, then you can do follow-up, you can send additional emails, you can create additional automation from it. So we're going to click Save. And I do have one error. So, title is required. So in the create item, down here, the title, we are going to add dynamic content. And grab title of event. The can you attend, that is automatically going to be pulled in. And then notes, we have to link to notes. We will click Save. And looks like things went better that time. So let's go ahead and test this by clicking the test in the upper right-hand corner. Since we have never ran this before, I'll do the I'll perform trigger action, and we will click test. So now you will see it's just sitting here waiting for the flow to be triggered. So let's go back to our preview form. We're going to pick university. Can you attend? Yes. And I will throw in some notes. Happy to attend. Click submit. The response was submitted. So let's go back to I can find my tab. There it is. So in the time it took me to find the tab, it says your flow ran successfully. So if we click on each of these, it will show what the inputs are. And then down under the additional steps, let's go ahead and look at our send email. So it automatically pulled my admin email. We have the subject, the email body, and under create item, it shows what it should have created in SharePoint. So let's go back to office.com. Let's look at our Outlook and check my email. Hey, look at that. We got an email. Thanks. Thank you for filling out the form. In here, it automatically put in the university, the submission time, my remark. And now if we go to SharePoint list, see we have university is the title, whether we can attend, and happy to attend. So you saw that didn't take that long to create that automation. And now, if you want, we can actually put this form right into our Learning Pathways site. So I'm going to go back to my form. I'm going to click Submit Another Response. I'm just going to grab the URL of this form. And let's go to our SharePoint site. Click Edit. And we will come down here. I'm going to add a plus sign. We'll just do one column. I'm going to click Add here. And in here, I keep forgetting this isn't here, but we can actually just add in a Microsoft form and add existing form. And then let's go ahead and put that URL in there. We have the option to either collect responses or show form results. So if you wanted to do maybe a poll for everybody, and as people filled out the form, you wanted to show those results, you could have them be displayed on a web page. But I want to put this just as a collect responses. You can see what that's going to look like. So in this time with COVID, if you want to have a form out there saying, hey, how's it going working from home? How's it going teaching from home? Collect that data. Then you can always put another one of these in to show the form results. Let's take a look at what that would look like. And you could have the poll be displayed on what people said. So I'm going to just go with collect responses and click OK. And we're going to republish our site. And let's go ahead and go back to our Teams. And let's go. Actually, I'm going to refresh and see if the policy that didn't quite work earlier, if it's applying. So if we're in our portal now, when we come down here, we have event, yes, no. So we have our form now embedded right in our Teams app. So let's go ahead and pick a K-12. Nope, I can't attend. Sorry, not going outside yet. I'm going to click Submit. Our flow should run again. I got another email. And let's go to our SharePoint site. And now, look, I have two events in my list. So that wasn't too bad, was it? So lastly, I told you how you can put that link to that countdown right to a Teams Live event. So let's go ahead and go into my calendar. And we'll go to Friday, May 22nd. Oops, apologies, didn't mean to click that. I'm going to go up here in the upper right-hand corner, and we're going to schedule a live event. We'll call this Friday Memorial Weekend. We are going to leave it as a Teams event. I'm not going to specify a location in there. We're going to leave it as, my gosh, I cannot believe May is going this fast. 22nd. We'll just do a half an hour. Happy Friday. You could invite presenters. I will add in, I think Adele's in here. Yep. So I have a producer and presenter. I'm going to click next. I'm just going to do this org-wide. The public is grayed out because I haven't configured those settings in my Teams Admin Center to allow for public events. We can make it recording available to attendees. I'm going to say no for right now. We can do a Q&A and attendee engagement report. So let's go ahead and schedule this. And this is important. There's a couple different links in here. So I see it says copy this link to send to attendees. This is the one that we want to make sure to use, not the one that's going to be utilized for our producers and presenters. So let's go back to our SharePoint site. And I will just let's go home. I'm going to click edit and scroll down to this web part, and I'm going to edit. I'm going to change the call to action link to my Teams meeting link. I'm going to then republish. Oh, on that note, I want to edit one more time. Instead of the click here, I want to edit one more time and say register for live, let's go capital, live event. That's better. We'll close that, republish that, and then, oh, I've only had 2 cups of coffee this morning. Let's do this one more time, because this isn't register. This is click here to join live event. Nobody's perfect, right? All right, so we're going to republish one more time. We're going to go back into Teams. And when I have a choice of which one to pick on, I'm always going to pick the wrong one. That's what happens when you do a bunch of testing. So if I scroll down here, we now have our countdown timer to join the live event. And I didn't update that to this Friday, but when I click here to join live event, it will launch Teams. I'm going to go ahead and say watch it on the web. I'm going to turn off my camera and say join now. And it knows I'm the producer, so it's going to look a little bit different for me than the end user. So just to recap what we did today, we did a lot today. We created an app catalog in SharePoint. We provisioned the SharePoint site, the Microsoft 365 learning pathways. We configured it. We created a custom app that wrapped that SharePoint site in there. We created a we created a SharePoint list, then a Microsoft form, and then a flow based on a template to do the automation to gather the information from that form and create an email and a SharePoint list item. And we created Teams Live event and put that on a nice countdown timer to the event. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. I hope you found this informational and look forward to doing additional training videos in the future. Thank you.